This is Gary from Frederick Wine House with Jose and Pascal from, how do I pronounce this correctly?
Esprit du vin.
And what does that mean?
The spirit of wine. We are French importers.
Okay. Today we're talking about wines that pair with oysters. So I'll let you talk about the wines.
Very good. We are presenting today two different cuvées, two different types of Muscadet from the same winery called Chateau Loiselinière. Say that 3 times in a row. Loiselinière means bird sanctuary, since a bird sanctuary was in the estate since the 14th century, since 1335. Chateau de Loiselinière is located in Muscadet. Muscadet is the western part of the Loire Valley, very close to the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean that is, and also at the confluence of 2 of the main rivers that are going into the Loire Valley, Loire River, called Sèvre and Maine. That is the best area for Muscadet. So obviously with that knowing that it is close to water, it has a lot of implication with seafood, shellfish, and obviously oysters that Jose brought from this Wegman store.
The oysters we are having here today are 2 types that are grown in the farm, in the Wegman's oyster farm. One of them is called the Chesapeake, which is a mild oyster, and we have the other one, which is called the Barrier oyster, which is a little higher salinity level, a little brinier.
So, no further ado, let's pour the first wine of Muscadet called L'Oiseau d'Or, the golden bird, obviously referring to the bird sanctuary we discussed earlier, but also the fact that this bird is called a Verdier bird, and it is actually the last name of the proprietors of this property as well. So Verdier and L'Oiseau d'Or is our first selection. This is Muscadet, and it is sur lit. So what does that mean, sur lit, Jose?
Thank you.
Sur lit means on the lees. It means the wine, after being fermented, is left with its sediments of skins, and it basically macerates a little longer in order to bring some enhanced flavor to the wine. Originally, Muscadet was a very lean, high acid wine that obviously pairs extremely well with oysters and shellfish. Nowadays, they tend to have a bit more body, definitely a little more complexity. And this sur lit, which is actually embossed here on this bottle, is the reason why you have more flavor. So you'll have notes of salinity. The actual soil is a volcanic silica clay that brings and enhances this minerality from.
I get a little bit of that.
You get minerality, you get salinity.
Kind of chewy to it. It's very good.
A little bit of cheese rind on the nose, but that's a good thing.
Lovely wine, lovely wine. Well, let's go out there and taste some of the oysters. These are the mildest, the so-called Chesapeake oyster.
Very good. A little lemon.
Lovely. I think a little lemon will give a little acidity.
Right. So I see a lot of people using mignonette and vinegar and Tabasco even.
Maybe, yeah.
But we like it to be the purest way, freshman way, the natural way. Very good.
Wonderful. I can do about 20 of those easy. Oh, yummy.
Wow. It's basically eating a little bit of the sea. All of a sudden, explosion of salinity and like the oyster, almost the brininess of the oysters comes through. Beautiful.
You know, if I may say, when we talk about farm-raised oysters, it's interesting that these oysters are raised in an average of 3 to 4 feet of water.
Okay.
As the tide rises or as the tide retrieves, there is always some water there. Yet the wild oysters, the only difference with the wild one is that the wild one is harvested at 15 or 20 feet below.
Very good.
Otherwise, there is very, very little difference.
I didn't know that.
So it's almost a misnomer to say they are farmed because they all are in that water.
Are they endangered though? Is it a
No,
hard...
there is no danger at all. These are in huge containers, huge like a suitcase, big suitcase, on a set of railroad tracks.
That's it.
And the railroad tracks stay right there. There is nowhere to go. And the water, as the tide moves up and down, so those.
Wow. Try the next one.
Let's try it. So the next wine is the upper echelon of Muscadet. This is a cuvée called Cuvée Les Illustres, for the illustrious people that were in this region since the 14th century. It is also important to know that Chateau de Loiselinière, which is this property, have a decree on hand at the estate stating that they are the first to be able to actually plant this varietal that we call here Melon de Bourgogne. That is the varietal. It's not Chardonnay, it's not Sauvignon, it is called Melon de Bourgogne. And originally that varietal was planted in Bourgogne, which is Burgundy, and then was brought from Burgundy to the Muscadet region.
Wow.
And in 1637, the decree states that Chateau Loiselinière is the first estate to be able to plant that varietal. And so they did. So this estate is actually dating back to 1637.
400 years.
That's right.
Actually, before we start, Jose had a great question before.
Yes.
The difference between the bottles.
Bottling. This is your typical and traditional bottling of Muscadet wine. Tall bottle, usually embossed with sur-lie, as we talked about earlier, which is on lees. And this obviously is a more, I should say, Burgundian bottle, in order to note the fact that it is an upscale cuvée. And the wine, it is so rich because it's actually, instead of being 9 months on lees here, is actually staying 18 months on lees.
That's a big difference.
So there is no oak aging in these wines. However, the fact that it is sur-lie, on lees for so long, brings as much richness that you would get from being in oak barrels. So this is very clean. This is very mineral. This is very great acidity in it. However, there is no oak treatment. Nonetheless, it is quite rich.
Are they hand harvested?
They are. This is hand harvested, and this is partially hand harvested. So let's pour Les Illustres, Cuvée Les Illustres.
What's the production of these wines?
500 6-packs a year.
Wow, that's it?
Yes. So we are very fortunate in Maryland to have this production here.
500. Wow.
And obviously, as you will see from the get-go, the color is richer, golden.
Yes.
Without, again, being oak age, you can still see a difference in the color. And then on the bouquet as well. Even more saline than the first one.
Wow.
And it's definitely more complex.
Beautiful product. Why are these wines, this grape, so misunderstood? Why is this grape so misunderstood?
Well, first of all, because it's only grown in Muscadet, no other regions of the world. So this is obviously a bit more, this is less known than Chardonnay, Sauvignon, which has now been planted pretty much everywhere in the world. This is a very, very unique grape, which hasn't had the marketing impact as Chardonnay, Sauvignon, and Viogniers and of the world. So,
Great wine. These wines will be available all week here at Frederick Wine House.
Well, let's have an
talk
oyster with
about
a
this.
higher salinity level here.
and that is the
These are the barrier.
Very good, Gary.
Pascal, up to you.
Thank you.
See, I can do this all day. Oysters easy. Oh, there you go. Yummy.
So l'oiseau d'or is the first, and now cuvée les illustres to pair with a barrier type of oyster.
Jose, they're available at Wegmans.
These are available at Wegmans.
Do they have to order them ahead of time? Or
No,
they-
we have them 7 days a week.
Okay. Great wines. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming
Gary.
out. Appreciate it. Jose, thank you.
Gary, nice to see you here.
Appreciate it.
Pascal, nice to meet you.
Great meeting you.
Thank you.